This is Amy Fell from First Response Group chatting to Adam Smith, founder of Leeds-based charity Surplus to Purpose, who intercept food waste destined for landfill to redistribution to schools and the local community. Hi, Adam. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Amy. You're right.
So first thing to ask really is, how does Surplus to Purpose come about?
The Surplus to Purpose is an evolution, basically, of a previous project that I had, which is the Real Junk Food Project. The Real Junk Food Project came about, unfortunately, after a personal issue I had. I grew up in a very dysfunctional family, and I was sectioned as a kid and put into care, and a lot of mental health problems. And then around the age of 22, I think it was, I'd attempted to take my life, and I was very, very close to succeeding. If it is a success, I'm not sure how you word that one, but yeah. And obviously it didn't happen, and I came round, and then I decided to run away from my problems because that's what I knew best. I ended up in Australia, and that's when I created the project, the Real Junk Food Project. It was 22nd of February 2013. I was on a farm. I'd seen food waste being fed to pigs, or food that was not deemed as waste but was deemed surplus being fed to pigs. And I've been a chef as well, so I've been a chef now since 2005, so it'll be 20 years next year. And I decided that I could do something with this food, and I set up a project called the Real Junk Food Project, and I said I'm going to feed the world with surplus food and encourage people to basically do more with food that was deemed edible but not fit for sale. And yeah, so that started in 2013, and then unfortunately that had to dissolve after COVID, so around 2021. And then that was when Surplus to Purpose came around. So Surplus to Purpose basically took all the good bits that it had, and then it kind of evolved it into the model that we have now, which is effectively a warehouse with a shop that intercepts surplus food, and then people can come and get access to it, like you said, from all walks of life, whether it's schools, local community, businesses. We do catering, we do weddings, and we redistribute it across the world as well. So we send food to like Palestine, Ukraine, refugee camps in Calais, all over really. So it's quite a big project now.
Yeah, it sounds like an incredible personal journey for you as well. And fantastic to hear that the things are going so well at the moment. So where does the food waste actually come from? The big name suppliers, is it the local people?
Yeah, I mean, we don't call it food waste, so we call it food surplus. The food waste for us is the stuff that's not edible.
Right.
And obviously the two are very, very different, because if we were to intercept food waste, we wouldn't be able to do anything with it. We intercept surplus food. So surplus food is effectively anything that is deemed surplus to requirements. And it could be things that are out of date, damaged packaging. It could be things that are just sheer surplus for numbers. So we get stuff that is in date, that's perfectly sealed, like we've had a lot of stuff in today. But it's just surplus to requirements. So that comes from everywhere. So we work with wholesalers, retailers, farms, food banks, third sector organisations, hospitality, third-party tech companies, all the way down to people having too many apples on their trees at home. Anything that is going to surplus, we'll get it in, we'll process it, we'll quality control it. If it's deemed fit for consumption, then we'll get rid of it either into schools or through our shop.
And how much are we talking roughly on average are you distributing?
So since I started the project, I've done just over 10,000 tonnes, which I can tell you what that is now. I've fed 23.8 million people worldwide, 10,000 tonnes. So that's what that would be in terms of how many meals we've stopped from going to waste. So we do on average around 1,000 tonnes a year, but in the last couple of years, that's been increasing more and more, just because of the fact that we're able to deal with things like pallets of drinks or pallets of dry goods. And obviously they weigh a lot. Whereas before we were going to like the back of supermarkets and getting bread and fruit and vegetables. Now we're dealing with like lorries with 26 pallets on probably once or twice a week. So that figure is increasing all the time.
That's an absolutely incredible achievement. Fantastic. And you mentioned you do catering as well. Is that using the surplus food?
Yeah, absolutely.
Private events?
There's a lot of food that we can't trade with because it's kind of the quality of it wouldn't be deemed sellable, if that's the right term, and therefore, but it's still edible. So it might be things like bananas that are set into black, or bruised fruit and vegetables, or bread that's started to go stale. But even though we can't trade with it, we can still consume it. So the part of the catering was, could we then give it another a life, basically? And that's what we do. Yeah, so we've done what we done this year? 1, 2, 3, about 12 or 14 weddings already this year. We've got 2 more to do in October. None of the guests know what they're getting, and it's a complete surprise. And I don't think majority of them know that they're getting food that's deemed surplus either until I do a speech at the end and say, "You've all just eaten waste," just to kind of get the reaction. But the whole point of it is that food is fit for anybody to eat. It's not just fit for the poor or the needy or vulnerable or low-income families. We wanted to get across the message to everybody, and we felt like the way that we could have one of the biggest impacts was by being as inclusive as possible. So we cater for weddings where you've got, the father of the bride coming up, and he's like, incredibly wealthy, governor of a prison, etc., and he's never eaten this type of stuff in his life, and he'll come up to us and shake our hands and say, I had a fantastic meal. And for me, I feel like we've got to drive that kind of that impact and that change, that systematic change, because these are the type of people that maybe go in and be able to have some influence, or maybe be able to change their behaviours around food, as well as obviously people who need it accessing it. We feel that we have to get the message out to everybody. So for us, it's great as a way, as an educational tool to kind of like expose a problem to maybe a demographic that might not know anything about these type of issues.
Yeah, absolutely. It completely makes sense. And so tell us about the teams behind this. Is it all run by volunteers?
Predominantly volunteers, yeah. It's me and one other paid member of staff. My driver, Sharam, he's fantastic. He works 4 days a week for me. We've had volunteers with us for nearly 10 years now. We've got a really, really high retention. We treat all our volunteers like human beings. They're treated like staff members. They get treated different. They get access to food as well, which is great for them. And we've created this very holistic and organic kind of family, really, of people who, even though they're giving their time for free, they still work incredibly hard. And then obviously we incorporate that into kind of some of the corporate groups that we get in. So like First Response, yourselves, and many others that come in on a regular basis in large groups. And then those large groups may have 1 or 2 people that will come off their own back to come and volunteer with us because they loved it. So we've got even Kirsty, who's here today. She's from a bank who came to volunteer with us as a group, and then she comes in every Friday now for her own back. And for us, that's really great because we get a really high capacity of volunteer that comes in, that's got a really great work ethic, really wants to make a difference. And obviously she benefits because she gets access to the food and she gets to learn new skills, etc. And it just works in a really holistic way, like I said. And we're very, very fortunate, but I think it's because of the nature of how we approach people rather than it trying to be around recruiting people who are service users. We have a very open kind of recruitment policy where anybody can just come and volunteer. They have to abide by the same rules. The first rule is be kind to yourself, and then the second rule is be kind to everybody else, and that's it. And if you don't know how to do those 2 things, then you're effectively not welcome here. So we've built it around the model of like, we have to treat people like human beings, and it's incredibly diverse. We've got trans couples here, we've got women here from domestic violence backgrounds, we've got women here whose English isn't their first language, and we've made it work because we listen to them and we learn from them and we're open and honest about conversations, and that's what encourages other people to come and get involved. So we don't really push for volunteers, we don't recruit volunteers. The volunteers do that for us, really, because they're so proud to show people off the place where they give back. And obviously we've got a shop here, so they love to bring people in and show them the shop as well at the same time and be very proud of the work that they do.
It's fantastic. Also, absolutely amazing that the word of mouth that the volunteers coming and joining in and feeling great to be part of such an inclusive culture. What kind of activities are volunteers taking part in?
So the main bulk of the day-to-day stuff is obviously getting the food in and getting it out again. So quality controlling, all the way from processing. That means pricing things up, and there's a lot of waste management processes involved. So we strip down all of our plastics, we separate all our polymers, we separate all our wood, metals, our pallets, everything you can imagine, everything gets separated as well. So there's people come from all walks of life, like I've mentioned. So it just depends on their skill set. So, we've got Kirsty out at the moment who's fantastic with people. I'm rubbish with people. So, because I've got autism, so I'm just really poor at it. Where she's great, so she thrives serving customers, where I'm thriving at the back, doing all the waste management stuff, basically like, stripping everything down, getting it all organized and sorted. I love doing stuff like that. And I've got a couple of young adults with autism who love doing that kind of stuff as well, who work alongside me. And then we've got all the delivery stuff as well. So we intercept food from all over the country. A lot of our volunteers use their own vehicles to collect the food and they'll bring it in for us. And then we've got our own vehicle as well. So there's a lot of people managing the stock coming in. And then while it's here as well, it's about managing that to make it go as far as possible, basically. And then we've got the schools and the deliveries. So there's a team that do all the deliveries and build all the crates and take pictures and manage the social media. So yeah, it's a real hype. Like I can see on the cameras now, it's just absolutely ballistic out there. What's going on? The shop is absolutely full. There's vans outside with people with pallets and trolleys filling it up. There's people inside weighing it all out. So, and we've got Amazon volunteering with us today. There's about 10 people coming from Amazon to volunteer. So we've got them coming later. So they'll be stripping everything down again. There'll be a real buzz and a hive of activity. And then it's just getting that message and information out to the public and tell them, look, the food's here, come down, this is what we've got. Come and get access to it and grab yourself an absolute bargain, but also help us stop waste at the same time.
So how can people in the Leeds area, what are the kind of opening times for the shop? What's the protocol? How can they get down there and help to distribute?
We open 7 days a week, 10 well 2, but Mondays and Fridays we open till 6. And yeah, basically everyone's welcome. So there's no criteria based, there's no means testing. You walk in, you grab a trolley, you grab a basket, you go around, fill it up whatever you want. At the end, you pay on card. It's really simple. We can do anything up to 2,000 customers a week. There's probably close to 50, 60 people in the shop right now, I can see as well, all filling baskets and trolleys up. We have a lot to offer. It changes every single day. And also you can volunteer off the back as well. So we do encourage customers to come and get involved. They always say, oh, when's that food coming out? It's like, we haven't got time to do it because it's not enough volunteers. So if you want to get involved, please do. So we do really encourage people to kind of give back and help out and understand that this isn't a kind of an orthodox kind of a job where people are being paid and we're buying stuff in and we're selling it. We're really, really trying our best to stop waste, and the quality and the range of food that we've got out there, is really competitive, which shouldn't be happening really, given the fact that it's surplus. So we do really try and get that message across to people as well. So people need to kind of manage their expectations, come down and understand that they're actually having a good impact on the planet and also on the local community by supporting us, and in as well as getting a bargain and getting some really good quality food as well.
It sounds like an absolutely fantastic initiative, and one that First Responsible are incredibly proud to be associated with. What's the plans for the future then, Adam? Is there anywhere you would plan to expand on your current operation?
It's the same as everywhere, really. I mean, I set out to feed the world when I set up the Rail Jumper project. I'm not going to stop. We want to do more in schools. We do have a free food for schools policy where schools can register and get access to food offers for free. That's any primary school in the UK. We do lots more catering. We've got lots more exciting events happening in the future. And we're currently delivering 6,000 pieces of fruit and around 20 crates of vegetables a week to Leeds City College to give out for free to the students at Leeds City College every week to try and encourage their behavioural change around accessing fruit and veg. So there's lots and lots of big things in the pipeline around health and well-being, waste, education, all of that stuff. So yeah, just to kind of watch out really, because sometimes we don't even know what's going to happen. Somebody might just call me and say, I've got an idea, should we do it? And I'll just say yeah, because I'm notorious for doing that. But yeah, just watch out for us really. And the expansion for me isn't a sign of success, and that's something that we've always been really proud about, because if we were successful in what we were doing, we'd close the doors because there's no food waste and because the world didn't need us anymore. So we really, really have to stay true to the core values of what we're trying to achieve here, rather than going, let's just go open up 1 million shops around the country and stop all this food waste and serve people. You then become an entity that is dependent on surplus in order to exist, because you'll have wages and overheads and running costs and vehicles and all of the the infrastructure behind the scenes that's required to have those types of kind of businesses. And at the moment bricks and mortar is very, very expensive, so the plan really isn't to expand, but we've got that much food, we could open up a shop in every single town and city across the UK and successfully support people on a 7-day-a-week basis. That's the kind of frightening aspect of it. What we want to do is kind of reduce that as much as possible and work with businesses to reduce how much they waste and create a world where people can afford to have access to food, and they don't have to go to food banks and they don't have to queue up at like food pantries or community initiatives, and therefore we're not needed. So if we can put ourselves out of business, that will be a measure of our success. But yes, there is a need, unfortunately, right now across the country for the types of food that we have. You know, we get messages all the time saying, when are you going to come closer to us because we need you here? And it's like, the fact that you need us is the problem, you know, because then you're dependent on a problem to exist in order for us to effectively try to solve another. And we're not trying to solve poverty. We don't want to solve poverty whatsoever. We want to try and stop waste. If we achieve that, which I believe we can, especially in my lifetime, then hopefully we can shut the doors and say thank you to everybody and say we did it. For me, that would be the greatest sign of success for a project like us.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Adam. And we'll put the details of the stop shop onto our into this video, so everyone in the Leeds area can come down and help with the mission. And we're looking forward to continuing the partnership and volunteering through Fresh Sports Group.
Thank you very much.